Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close, I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever signed, right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right about
I
it.
don't think I've ever said this before.
All right, so we are officially live with the one and only Eric Trump. How you doing?
It's good to be here, my friend.
It's great to make some noise, everybody. The audience is now live, right? Yes.
So I have some presents for
Oh,
everyone.
really? Oh, we like presents.
Yeah.
Eric, I want a red one, Eric!
Let's go.
So the main man has to get the first present. If the Trump was right about everything, Dad.
There we go. There we go.
Eric, one red one?
Oh, dark MAGA. Dark.
Thank you, sir.
Dark.
One last one.
There you go.
Yeah.
How you doing? How you feeling?
Man, it's been a hell of a year.
Yes, it has been.
We are on a roll.
I
We're
see
on a
it.
roll.
I see it.
Life is good, my friend.
So
Life is really good.
do everybody in the Trump family, do you guys talk to each other? I mean, I'm sure everybody's busy right now. How does everybody stay in contact with each other?
Honestly, we've got to really, guys, they did everything they possibly could to try and destroy our family, to try and break us up, and they couldn't do it. It's actually like the great American story in a certain way, right? We had a family that was unbreakable. I adore Don as much as a wise ass as he is. I think everybody knows that Don's kind of like the wise ass of our family, right? Ivanka's the absolute greatest. Barron is like kind of coming into his own as a young kid. Phenomenal guy. Tiffany's a great girl. My father's my best friend in the world. Love the man, the backbone and balls and tenacity of this guy is unbelievable, and we're doing great as a family.
That's great.
Great.
And that's what it looks like from the outset. It looks like you guys, because the first term was a lot of turmoil. This time around, it's almost like there's a little bit of poise. Now we know who's who. Now we know what games these guys play. Now we know who you can trust. And you kind of have it a little bit more momentum going on right now.
Well, you know what? The mainstream media is dead. And by the way, you can thank this incredible guy for that. If you went back to 2014, 2015, never would you have said that NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN was irrelevant. I mean, you look at independent voices like this, right, and like Rogan and all these other guys, they are the hearts and minds of America right now. Everybody else is totally irrelevant, right? So in 2016, we went in. They made up this whole Russia scandal. I was the guy that was getting the calls about Russiagate. Eric, I hear you have a secret server in the basement of Trump Tower that communicates directly with the Kremlin. That's bullshit. I mean, first of all, we didn't have any secret servers in Trump Tower. Basements flood, so you wouldn't put a server in the basement. We're like a cloud-based computing company, so none of this made any sense. But because they had the entire mainstream media, they were able to feed, the American public this nonsense for a 3-year period of time and practically destroy our country by doing it. And now all of a sudden, no one listens to the outlets because there's only so many times you can cry wolf before people just stop believing them. And that's why your voice has become as powerful as it's been. And that's why the podcast, people are just consuming media totally differently. And so that and the fact that DJT is throwing so much lead in the air that the Democrats can't counter narrative, right? Every single day. And he's having the greatest time. He's got Hakeem Jeffries, you see that in there? He's wearing he threw him the Trump 2028 hat, and come on, Hakeem, wear this hat. He's just having a great time in there, and he's doing so good. And by the way, he just got peace of the Middle East about 30 minutes ago. I'm not sure if you saw that. Hamas just agreed to the terms, and that means this conflict is over.
30 minutes ago. That's big.
Let's see.
That is massive. Now, obviously, there's one side that's like, we'll agree to giving up the hostages, we'll agree to this. But I think they're asking about whether Tony Blair, whether they're comfortable with some of the. They don't have a choice right now because it seems like this is the first time. I was talking to a guy yesterday. He says, Pat, you don't understand how big of a deal this is. When the president kept saying, this may be one of the single biggest events ever, and we're thinking, he's very good at building things up. And he says the president was able to get Qatar and Israel essentially to both agree against Hamas, which Qatar normally wouldn't do that, but we're doing something that's never happened before. Yeah. This is the part when he's able to broker some of these deals that nobody could do in the past.
And by the way, it's not exactly easy. Israel was also dropping bombs in the middle of Qatar, and they have to obviously protect themselves, and it was a tough situation. But he wrote a tweet about 4 hours ago. I'm not sure if any of you in here He goes, if Hamas doesn't give back the hostages by 6 p.m. on Sunday, all hell will break loose. And I say that in the most aggressive way I can possibly say that. And then, which is for Donald Trump is pretty damn aggressive, right? And exactly 3 hours later, Hamas writes a nice letter saying, we're done, we're good, you know, let's you know.
They said that already, so they just said that.
Yeah, they just said that about 4 hours ago, and then they just gave up. So it's great. And guys, I've personally seen my father solve wars all over the place. I mean, you know, Cambodia, you probably saw that, and you know saw everything that was happening with Thailand, and you know, I mean, he is fundamentally anti-war. And what drove me crazy is for years I got to listen to these people. You know, Donald Trump can't, Hillary Clinton, do you remember this? Donald Trump can't be trusted with a nuclear trigger. He doesn't have the stability. This is like the one guy who doesn't want to go to war. He wants to have the greatest military in the world, so if you ever had to go to war, you end it so damn quickly that their heads spin, but he's the one guy who just never wants to bring America to war. He believes in life. He believes in, you know, not having young kids killed for no reason whatsoever. He doesn't want to spend trillions of dollars of U.S. taxpayer dollars, you know, rebuilding countries on the other side of the globe, and I'm proud of him for that.
Yeah, Rob, if you want to pull up the tweet, this is literally from the White House. Peace in the Middle East, based on the statement just issued by Hamas, I believe they are ready to for lasting peace. Israel must immediately stop bombing of Gaza so that we can have the hostages out safely and quickly. Right now, it's far too dangerous to do that. We're already in discussions on details to be worked out. This is not about Gaza alone. It's about long-sought peace in the Middle East. That is powerful. That is absolutely powerful. And it's amazing what you're saying. So I guess one of the questions I got for you when we're getting started with this is, when you guys are in it, Adam to your left, first time him and I spoke when he wanted to come to be with us at the great beaches of Addison, Texas. Okay, he leaves Miami. He says, I want to leave Miami. He had a life-changing event. His father passed away. He had a relationship that didn't work out because she had some health issues. So he said, I just want to come to Addison. Comes to Addison. We're doing the first interview. I said, so tell me where you stand politically. He says, what do you mean? I said, so how do you feel about Trump? He says, what does that have to do with anything? I said, I want to know where you stand with Trump. You remember this phone call, right?
We have a good ending, buddy. We have a good ending.
At least he's on the team now,
We're
right?
back, baby. Don't
He's on the train.
So better late than never.
True.
So he's like, well, and all of a sudden I noticed by the way he's reacting, I already know the answer. I know where the guy stands. Well, you know, I just don't like this, and I don't with Russia, and I think there's, I said, what Russia? So even with the Russia stuff that said Russia, all this stuff, how does it now feel that when you're seeing all of these stories coming out, the 274 FBI for January 6th, insurrection, when you're seeing, and then Kash Patel today says, our job is not to go out there and monitor and see what's going on. That's not our job to go out there and be, and we'll play the clip here in a minute. You got Russia collusion, the dossier. You got all this stuff that's coming out. How does it feel for you guys? How does redemption feel now?
Well, it's total vindication. I mean, it's the whole point. I know we're talking about it in a little while, but it's the whole point of my book, all right? I wrote a book, Under Siege. Think about this. They impeached my father twice over absolutely nothing. They made up Russiagate, right? I mean, they made up the dirty dossier where they claimed that he did unthinkably disgusting and lewd things, right? And that was all paid for by Hillary Clinton. They raided our home. They raided Mar-a-Lago. They raided Melania's room. They raided Barron's room. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history for doing absolutely nothing wrong, for being an honest, good person, right? Unlike Hunter Biden, by the way, who's finger painting all day long and selling it to Chinese nationals. I mean, they weaponized every DA and every AG, 91 felony indictments, right? I mean, Maine pulled him off the ballot. Colorado pulled him off the ballot. We were deplatformed. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. They ripped us off like we were dogs. They left Boko Haram. They left the Ayatollah. They left Al-Qaeda on there, but they ripped the 45th president off. Guys, they tried to bankrupt us. They tried to take the name off of Trump Tower and every building that we have around New York State and around the globe. They wanted us done. They deplatformed us. They debanked us. They did everything they could to possibly destroy us. And when none of that worked, they tried to kill him. They tried to kill him first in Butler, Pennsylvania. Then they tried to kill him again at a golf course. They put our family and they put this country under siege, right? And so it is like the greatest vindication. I mean, I was sitting there. I sat next to my father in those disgusting courtrooms in New York City every single day as they read. And we've overturned every one of the cases. We've won every single one of these cases. And I always tell this story. We hop in a car. So, it was that, horrible Mershon trial. The daughter works for the Democratic Party, right? 34 felony convictions were read out. He stands up, turns around, shakes my hand. We hop in the car. We're leaving the courthouse. He goes, honey, I don't know how right now, but we're going to win this thing. And when he said win it, he meant win the White House. He meant win the entire trial. And I said, it's either the White House or jail, because that's how bad it was at the time. Meaning, you either win the entire thing, or you know that they're going to throw you in jail for the. And now all of a sudden you're sitting there, and Hakeem is wearing the Trump 2028 hat, and he's doing these
back to memes.
He's
Rob,
doing these sombrero memes with Chuck Schumer wearing and having the greatest time of his life, and just dismantling the whole system that was so corrupt, dismantling DEI, USAID, which was literally like, a terrorist organization toward the United States. And, you see the stock market today, you see everything that's happening, you see energy prices falling, the biggest tax breaks in the history of the country, peace in the Middle East. My man over here is a crypto guy like I am. Bitcoin hit 124 a little while ago, so I'm very proud of that. And he's doing awesome, and it's like the greatest redemption.
How do you? But you see the redemption side, but you don't see the vengeance side. So that's the part, and because you essentially could if you wanted to, and you're having fun with it. But some people may say, why aren't you going a little bit harder after your enemies? You are, you're not, but it doesn't seem like even what happened with him. With earlier we're talking about the shooting, we're talking one at Palm Beach, but you got the other one at Butler. He's just moving on. So what's his mindset when you're saying, hey, we'd like to know who went after, we'd like to know who tried to kill you, we'd like to know what happened here. No, we got business to do. Why is he doing that? What's he thinking when he's making those moves?
Listen, I think he has a different calculus than all of us. Here's what I'll tell you. I am wholly unsatisfied about what happened at Butler, right? I'm wholly. Listen, they got into the phones of every January 6th grandmother who was walking through the Capitol taking selfies, but you couldn't figure out who a 21-year-old kid who had 4 cell phones was, that's sitting on a roof at Butler, Pennsylvania with a sniper rifle, right? No, nothing to see over here, but we're going to go after this, 75-year-old grandmother who loves America, who was singing the Pledge of Allegiance 3 minutes before and took a selfie in the Capitol. Give me a break. I don't think anybody buys it, but I think he's playing with a different calculus, right? There's national security concerns there, right? He does, and obviously he knows what they are. And so, I think he's been a total gentleman about it. I think as a son, it's very hard for me to be a gentleman about it, right? I'm still pissed off. I think a lot of America is still pissed off about this, and I can say that. Listen, he has to be the commander-in-chief of the country, and he has to do so being cool and collected, and I just think he has a different calculus than probably all of us collectively do, and there's a sense of maturity there that I think is actually, pretty special and unique.
That's a good word you use, maturity, right? Because it's how do you use maturity with a 2-term president who had a show that was #1 for 15 years, who's a multi-billionaire, raised kids that are very good kids, all independent, doing their own thing. The part about maturity, so for you from the lens, because the first time I think we did the podcast was 2 days after you guys won, right? I think it was 1 or 2, it was 2 days or 3 days. It was right after he won, right? But now, so we couldn't measure on how he's managing his second term that he's in. What do you notice? And as you're like, my son looks at me, my kids look at me, right? And they're watching what dad's doing, and you're going through your process. How do you see what's changed with your dad in the second term versus the first term?
Well, he's Donald Trump first term on steroids, right? I mean, it's amazing. And he's the Energizer Bunny, right? He's the Energizer Bunny that wears a suit, a red tie, and probably has more energy than the Energizer Bunny. I mean, listen, the guy's remarkable. He's having fun. And guys, I remember how painful it was in 2020, right? Like I thought we won. I think we did win, right? I really do believe that. I don't think anybody really believes that Joe Biden got 16 million more votes than Barack Obama did. Listen, you might not like the guy, but he was charismatic as hell, right? And he was young. He had some shtick and everything else. Does anybody really believe that Joe Biden got 16 million more votes than Barack Obama? I personally don't, right? And we know everything else that went into that. And I remember sitting in the White House that night as the vote tallies, and we were winning until 1 o'clock in the morning, and then everything reversed, right? And it reversed in a way that statistically, to the numbers guys over here, doesn't even make sense. And yet, kind of looking back, it was the greatest thing that ever happened. I mean, today we have the House, we have the Senate. Obviously we have the executive branch. We have a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. We have a media that is all but dead. We won the popular vote. We won every single swing state. We won Miami-Dade by 11 points. Guys, that hasn't happened in 37 years. No Republicans won Miami-Dade. Every state has tacked over to the right massively. It was one of the greatest defeats of person ever, by the way. Despite the fact in this book tour of hers, she's going out and saying that it was very, very close. I mean, it was like one of the greatest butt kickings in history, right? It It was rather phenomenal. And now all of a sudden, he's got a cabinet of just killers in there that are having fun, that are kicking butt, taking names. You could have never had that in 2020. And so it's kind of interesting that God works in mysterious ways. And again, it hurts so bad at the time. And yet looking back in retrospect, it's like the greatest thing that ever happened.
Who are some of the people, Eric, that on first term who are Congress or Senate or political folks or guys who are insiders, names that maybe we know, maybe some that we don't know, power players behind closed doors, who some of them were like, when you guys lost that one term, they would try to say, you see, you guys got lucky with your first term. See what happened over here? That are now very respectful. And it's like, oh my God, Eric, how are you? Oh, Donald, yes, you know. Have you noticed that evolution with some of these guys that try to punk you guys and now they're begging for forgiveness?
Oh, there's no question about it, guys. I mean, there's 1,000 of them. You know, when my father went through the financial stuff in kind of, you know, the early 90s, he always talked about a time where the phone stopped ringing. And you better believe that was the beginning of 2021. Right after that, you know, there was a time where the phones just went quiet. You know, the people that you thought would have otherwise been your life, they just disappeared completely. And it's actually a great lesson for life, right? People want to be there when you're winning, you know, and your true friends are actually found in the lowest times. Like, you know who they are, remember them, grab onto them, hold on to them, dismiss everybody else. And by the way, it's so funny. Now, you know, 2024, all of a sudden, everybody comes back. Oh, hey, buddy, I'm so sorry I haven't reached out in 3 years. I was with you the entire time, but I know how busy you were. And you're like,
yeah.
Are you allowed to curse on this podcast? I'm like, you're so
Yeah.
And honestly, just X those people from your life. But that's also in business, right? Like the people who weren't there when you had that crappy time where your business was suffering, when you were, you know, emboldened in debt, just forget those people. Turn them off. Never go back to them. And remember who helped you in the worst times. You know, those are the people you want with you in the trenches.
Who are those people that stuck by Trump's side no matter what? January 6th, no what? Like, who are the people that are still there to this day that were there from day one?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's start with family, right? I mean, and I think that's maybe a greatest testament to a father. I think if, you know, going back, if I wanted one thing for my child or my children, right, it's the fact that, you know, they never deserted me. They were there. They took more bullets than you can possibly imagine, and they just weren't able to break that family unit because you mentioned coming up on stage to, you know, have 20 kids, 100%. There's nothing more beautiful than family, and there's nothing more beautiful than, you know, cohesive family that fights together, that loves each other, and that they just can't break. I mean, I think that's kind of like the great American, you know, dream. So you've got a lot of people. You've got a lot of people that were truly amazing. One of them is Dan Scavino. I mean, you know Dan very well, and you know kind of runs all social media. He's been absolutely phenomenal. He was there by my father's side, nonstop, 24/7, and they tried to get these guys. They tried to break these guys, and they just wouldn't. And yet there's a lot of people that did break, right? I'd argue that, you know, Pence broke, and I would argue that, you know, Scaramucci broke. And I mean, listen, I could go down the list of people who otherwise deserted. I mean, 3/4 of the White House became very, very quiet in 2020, right? And they just kind of quietly slipped out the door. Many of them actually didn't even make it to the final day. I remember sitting there at Andrews Air Force Base when we were departing to go back down to Florida for the last time, and you had this great group of friends around him. And then a lot of that White House staff that you otherwise would have thought would have been there that were begging in the best of times were noticeably quiet or noticeably absent. And so it's just, listen, I think it's how life works. It's unfortunate. It's rather sad. But again, you go back into 2024, embracing the people who were there in the lowest times, which means that they can survive any war, any battle. They're the ones you want in those trenches.
So 2028, a hat came out. I don't know if you've seen this hat. Maybe you've worn this hat in the past before. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have seen this hat or not.
It's a really good hat.
It says Trump 2028, right? And when you put it on, it was like, hey, president wants to be a king, you know, third term, all this other stuff. You're hearing from a lot of people. So they do probably one of the worst campaigns ever, the No Kings that nobody showed up. I don't know if you guys know. They spent tens of millions of dollars, lasted a few hours, right? Then you have this hat. Rob, do you have the clip of the president handing over Hakeem Jeffries the hat, and it perfectly falls on his head? It's definitely not AI. It's real. Don't let anybody tell you it's AI. This is a very real video, folks.
Great
I don't
shot.
I don't know if you have this clip or not. That's the one, but is that the video? It's just such a picture-perfect video when you throw it and it lands. I mean, it's like it's almost as if he's playing baseball. Watch it. Go from the big. Let's watch it one more time. Look at the
that
landing.
toss. Wow.
How do you do that? And the smile on his face. So this 20 hilarious. So Rob, if you want to pause it.
That's so real.
So which Trump is running in 2028?
Oh, God. So I have to give somebody credit in the audience. So there's Kim, stand up. So she is actually the one that came up with the Trump 2028
Let's go,
hack.
Kim!
And Kim is a warrior who's never left my side over the last 10 years, and she goes, we just got to trigger them. We have to trigger them. Let's do a Trump 2028 hat. Let's say nothing, and let's just post a picture of you behind your desk wearing this hat. And guys, I put it on, and immediately Elon tweets it 2 seconds later. I mean, everybody, the whole world retweets this picture, right? And it's got millions of follows. And the media starts melting down, right? I start getting these things from Bloomberg and from NBC. Does this mean that your father is going to subvert the will of the Constitution? And I'm snapshotting these emails and I'm posting them on my Instagram reels just to screw with them. Like I'm circling them. It's so great. And so they melt down. The media loses their mind. And a couple hours later, it kind of quieted down, right? And she comes up to me. She's like, we need to just take this up one more time. So it's Trump 2028 with the hashtag rewrite the rules. and so we posted that. The media melts down again. We sold like 50,000 hats in 24 hours. You'd be very, very impressed from a business.
50,000?
Oh my God, it was great. By the way, all for $47 a piece. I'm not sure where we came up with that number, but you know, isn't it nice once in a while that you can bring a little levity to things, right? And like the media in this country, they're such stiffs. They take everything so seriously, but I don't know. I mean, listen, the honest question is politics is brutal, guys, and the whole family better be ready. We were lucky. We had a little bit of a cocoon. We had a little bit of an aura. We had, I did 7 seasons on The Apprentice. We came out of the business world. We had a confident voice. We were comfortable on TV, but man, they will try and destroy you. And that's why the number one rule in politics is keep your family the hell out of politics. Keep them off the stage. I think we are the first family in history, in political history, where we were all standing on that stage. Normally you do the exact same thing, the exact opposite thing. You keep your kids. I mean, you didn't exactly see Hunter on that stage, right? For obvious reasons, because he'd be tweaking out on that stage. And, so the rule there was keep the family off the stage, right? So they kept him to the side. We didn't have any friends. In 2016, we literally had no friends. We had no endorsements. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We didn't know what a delegate was. We didn't know what a caucus site was. I'm really good at building hotels and golf courses and other things, but we got in there, we spoke from the heart, and somehow we made this whole thing work.
So you haven't answered it yet. Who's running in 2028? That's the question.
I'll nominate anybody other than me, all right? It's like, let's nominate Don right now. No, listen, it's probably the same answer that my father gave, 20 years ago to Oprah, 30 years ago to Oprah. You've all seen that clip. If it got so bad that you had no other choice, maybe you do it. I think we have the voices for it. We're clearly passionate about it. Believe me, it's not a fun job, right? I mean, my father's life all of our lives would have been a hell of a lot easier focusing on the business, not taking the thousands of arrows, being loved by both sides, making a hell of a lot more money, living the greatest life. He could have flown around on Trump Force One all day long. He could have been at Mar-a-Lago. He could have been with his grandkids. Instead, we're fighting it out in corrupt courtrooms in New York City and Fulton County, Georgia, and in Washington, D.C. But man, is the country a better place because he did what he did, because he stood up. I mean, man, is the country a better place.
But Eric, if it comes, like if it, God forbid, comes down to that moment, because we know what they're about, what they're gonna do. Because I talked to Adam about this. The moment if a Democrat came into power right now, what would they do? They don't do everything that your father did. Open the border, stop the tariffs. They would try to destroy the country. So if it came down to it, like remember in The Godfather, where Michael now is becoming the boss and he has his father to go to for counsel. If it did come down to it, would you step up and be like, all right, for the country, I got to do it?
I think we'd seriously consider it. I think one of us would seriously consider it. But here's a little bit of the difference in calculus, and I hope this lasts long term. My father was the greatest rhino hunter in the history of hunters, right? I mean, he killed more rhinos in Washington, D.C. than anybody in history. Like, all of them are gone. All of a sudden, we actually have a Republican Party that has some backbone, has a little spunk, and has youth to it, and they're all out there. They're fighters. Like, we didn't have that first term. I mean, go back and think about Ben Sass. I mean, Mitt Romney. Give me a break, right? Like, McCain. Like, give me a break. These people didn't. And now all of a sudden you see a Republican Party and they're fighting together, and you've got guys like JD. JD is like one of the greatest guys in the world. I think his mantle is gonna be long. But just look at the cabinet and look at what they're doing. I mean, they cleaned up all crime in Washington, D.C. in 12 days. I mean. They would have 9, 10, 11 murders on a Saturday, Sunday, and now you have 0. I mean, doesn't that show that it works? Like, doesn't it actually show that government can be effective as opposed to just, monotonous over a long period of time. Look at Chicago. I mean, Chicago hasn't changed in 100 years. Same crime, same this, same that, same problems, right? They've done the same thing over and over and over. They always promise change. He didn't promise change. He actually implemented change. And to all the business people out here, I mean, isn't that exactly what you want of a commander-in-chief? And I think that's what the Republican Party is kind of getting, not indoctrinated, but they're seeing it works. And so I think the Republican Party's playbook is very, very different now and will not revert back.
Eric, you can almost make the case that not only did he disrupt the Republican Party, Rhino's now more MAGA, he completely broke the Democratic Party. I mean, this is the most, there's the chart that Elon Musk showed where the uniparty used to be here, Democrat, Republican. And then Trump came in, Republicans maybe moved this way a little bit, right? The Democratic Party, bro, they're out the door. And common sense took over, and people were just like, dude, maybe I wasn't a Trump guy before, but I'm not a trans, woke, progressive, BLM, gays for Gaza activist. I'm going with Trump. So what do you think? He broke, TDS is real, and half the country literally is not the same as 10 years ago. Trump 2028, God, sorry.
Welcome to the party, my friend. Welcome to the party.
Thank you. Exactly. But I think there's a lot of common sense men and women who just looked at the two options. They're like, give me Trump. What do you think he's done to the Democratic Party? This chart right here.
Oh, so good.
I mean,
he's
break
destroyed
this down.
Guys, I can't tell you how many thousands of events I did in every swing state, right? I go to Pennsylvania. I'd hear from these young guys. They worked in steel plants. They worked in, the car factories and in manufacturing. A lot of union guys. My grandfather would kill me if he knew I was voting for a Republican. I go, let me ask you a question. I just know who you are, but based on talking to you for 2 seconds, would your grandfather have voted for, a guy like me, my size, 6'5", 215, to swim in collegiate women's sports? No, he would go in there, he'd kill the guy, he'd shoot every single one, he'd grab his hunting rifle. I'm like the point is, you're not actually he wasn't actually a Democrat in today's Democratic Party, right? As Elon showed right there, they kept on going further and further and further to the left. I mean, people want sanity in this world. People want family. There's been a war on religion. There's been a war on the Constitution. 5 years ago, you had Colin Kaepernick making $50 million a year, kneeling for the national anthem, kneeling for the Pledge of Allegiance. You had the female soccer team, women's soccer team, Olympic soccer team, turning their back as they were raising the American flag. And here we are. Everything that was woke has died. All of DEI, for the most part, is gone. Right? I mean, we've totally changed as a society. It's cool to love this country again. And our good friend Charlie, I know you knew him very well, and all of us, but I mean, just look at the youth generation. I've known Charlie since he was 21 years old. He came into my office. He's like, I'm going to change the attitude on college campuses. We're not going to allow these kids to be indoctrinated anymore. And you see these rallies on the college campuses. You see kids have voice. You see kids stand up to their professors who are otherwise teaching revisionist history and indoctrinating their young minds. What a difference we've done a 180 in a period of 3-4 years. It's really incredible.
Yeah, so you're talking about Charlie Kirk. So for you, do you remember where you were when you heard the news that Charlie Kirk was assassinated?
I was walking to my office. I was literally walking into my office, and the same person that I just mentioned a second ago, Kim, came running up to me. She goes, Charlie was just shot. And it literally, for me, it was deja vu to Butler, right? I mean, it was like I was watching that exact same TV at the exact same time, watching, the same thing almost happened to somebody I love dearly. And I love Charlie dearly. I mean, Charlie was a dear friend. I was on the stage with him all the time. And, he was, he's an amazing person. In fact, I was just speaking to Erica last night. But no, listen, they want to take away our voice. That was our whole plan, guys. I mean, if you take away the voice, the movement doesn't continue to happen. What actually happened was the exact opposite of that. They thought they could cut the head off of kind of the tiger, but the tiger actually got bigger, and it got stronger, and it got louder, and it went from being a movement of youth in this country to being a movement of everybody all around the world who saw them for not being the tolerant people that they had always claimed to be, saw them for actually being incredibly intolerant, as we've seen over and over and over again. They didn't want me on the stage. You think they want you on that stage? They don't want you on that stage. They don't want any independent voice that can't be controlled using big corporate kind of, they don't want us out there because they can't control you, and they can't control me, and they can't control any of you guys. Right? And that's why they take the shots. They call us fascists, yet they dress in black. And they stand on roofs with sniper rifles and shoot over the the heads of college kids who are out there, talking about the greatness of America. We're the fascists? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
How do you process today when you're hearing the online narrative, right? Where people are sitting there saying, what happened here? Who took him out? All these questions, the shot, you're somebody that's gone hunting before. This doesn't look like an entry wound. It looks like a exit wound where it's we've all seen the clip that we don't want to see. How do you process it yourself? We're wanting to get to the bottom of it. Do you think Tyler was the shooter?
Listen, here's what I can tell you. I know Dan Bongino. I've known Dan Bongino for 20 years. And man, is he a good American, right? And a guy who does not put up with nonsense, right? Like, I've known Cash for a very long time. I've been on the same stage as Cash 1,000 times, and Cash has a heart of gold, and he's a good American, and he does not put up with nonsense, right? It's very different than last, administration where every single person in the administration was some DEI pick, right? You had Pete Buttigieg who would, run a small town. All of a sudden, he happened to be transportation secretary, and during COVID, when none of the ships are coming into our ports and there's no 2x4 at Home Depot, guess what the guy does? He takes paternity leave, right? Like that's not this administration. It's the exact opposite of who these people are. And so I think I'd be asking probably a lot of questions if I didn't know the individuals at the tip of the spear incredibly well and have tremendous faith. There's a lot of questions that people are asking. There's no question about it. But
what are the right questions?
Those guys are the greatest people you'll ever meet, and I'm telling you, if there is funny business, they'll get to the bottom of it, and they'll be honest and transparent about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's the funny part of it. But do you this is what people are saying? I'm curious how you process it because you probably watch what the market is saying. So the other day we're just doing a regular podcast, and then I'm asking the guys a question. I said, so how long did it take for them to, make sure the site's protected so nobody can come in? You can study things. You can see what's going on. Just a couple days. And you go look at some of the other sites that took place in the past, whether it was an assassination, different events, boom. 1 month, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, some of them. So there's a part of it where we're like, this was very quick. And we didn't, then you hear the school that's doing construction on that site. Everybody online is asking what happened here. Do you yourself, I know you're on the inside, you're part of the family. Do you sit there and say, I'm actually curious to know what happened here?
What's kind of interesting about life is a lot of the conspiracy theories, right? And they've labeled all of us conspiracy theorists, and then so oftentimes they come true, right? How often through the course did we say something was bogus, and then all of a sudden we were fringe right, and and all of a sudden it worked. COVID was the greatest example of that. My father went out and said, "Hey, maybe hydroxychloroquine works." How dare you? How dare you? He's a radical. He doesn't know anything about medicine. Then sure enough, hydroxychloroquine works, right? There's 1,000 of those that, I think the greatest thing about us as a party is we're willing to question, and we're willing to do so pretty viciously, and we've been proven right about a lot of things. Again, knowing the corruption of the other side, I would be asking a hell of a lot more questions if I didn't know the people involved, because I'm telling you, Bongino will not lie to the American people, and I'm telling you, Kash Patel will not lie to the American people. And the other thing I'll tell you, Cash was like best friends with Charlie. He knew Charlie extremely well. He knew Charlie as well as I knew Charlie. And you better believe if there was something off there, he will get to the bottom of it out of respect for a friend who took a bullet to the neck.
To a lot of people, there's something fishy going on. And I'm the least conspiratorial person. I'm like, it was the trans-loving kid on the roof, right? Oh, maybe not. There was a what? The second shooter? It didn't sound like you were entirely comfortable with the results or the final decision of what happened with your father in Butler. It doesn't sound like you're even 100% comfortable with that decision. What makes you think that we're going to be comfortable with the Charlie Kirk decision?
Yeah, well, first of all, the incident with my father happened under Joe Biden. You had a director, you had Kimberly Cheadle, does everybody remember her, who was an absolute DEI incompetent human being who said that the roof was so sloped that, the counter sniper teams, and I know these guys, I shoot with them, I've shot with them a lot, I know a bunch of the guys there, some of the guys over there are good friends of mine, was too steep. Yeah, her. Show the roof, show the Butler roof.
It was like this.
She testified to Congress that the roof was, too steep to climb over. It was all BS, guys. So
yeah,
right?
There it is.
And then by the way, you had these like old congressmen and senators who were walking up and down that roof like it was absolutely nothing. Like, my 47-pound daughter could scale that roof without even thinking about it, and and ride her bike on that roof. And so I think there's a difference between that administration and the trust I had for that administration versus the trust I have for this administration. This is just an administration that spent their 4 years weaponizing government against absolutely everything, right? So You know, and then the fact that they couldn't get into the guy's phone, give me a break. Like, you know, so I think there's a big difference. I think there's a really big difference.
Because of who's there. So for me, what it makes me think about is, let's say Cash is somebody that a lot of people trust, let's just say. Okay, but he's the guy that came in, fine, he's going to be doing the things. But FBI's got 38,000 employees. And those 38,000 employees, the last four, it's not like Trump was 448 combined, so there's momentum being built, and you're getting rid of people. So yes, Cash is at the top, Bongino's at the top, but those 38,000, how many of the 38,000 are for what you're for, what we're for? So somebody can sit there and say, look, I get what you're saying. Like, you know, you've ran an operation for a long time. When we were sitting down, that you were telling me about how many people that knew you when you were 12 years old, 10 years old, now you're there, and they respect the fact that you were working with them. Your dad would always bring you on the work side. So you're running a company, you've earned moral authority, right? They've seen how hard you're working, and they're comfortable you going in there. Now imagine if all of a sudden I come in, and there's a big falling out, and we bring a different CEO who can't stand you and your family. Let's just say they buy the company. I'm just making it up. And most of the employees that are there, they're like, who the hell is this guy? We like him. So to a lot of people that are questioning things, they may say, well, look, I get Cash, I get Bongino, yes, but what makes us think everybody in there is going to want to get to the bottom of this? Can we trust everybody? I think that's what a lot of people are questioning.
Yeah, listen, I think they clearly need to publish a report. I mean, I think there's a lot of good questions that have been answered, right, without going down a rabbit hole of conspiracy, because that's not at all my intention at all. And again, I truly trust the people at the top of that. But, you know, where was the rifle when you jumped off the roof, right? I mean, that's a good question. I'm a very big shooter. I mean, Mausers typically aren't chambered. They're not chambered in 30-06, right? They're normally chambered in 8mm Mauser. Most of the time, 30-06 is in a stripper clips, right? All of a sudden, they show a picture of a stripper clip with. I mean, you could geek out on a lot of things that didn't feel and seem right. You know, there could be answers to all those things that I'm not aware of. Again, all I know is I trust Bongino wholeheartedly. Has he been on the show with you?
He has, yeah.
You know, he's a good man.
I wouldn't mind talking to Cash, by the way. If you talk to Cash, if Cash is open, I'd love to have a conversation with Cash.
Cash is a good man. So listen, I truly do believe that they'll get to the bottom of it. And I think the other thing is out of respect for their mutual friend, because Charlie was everybody. I mean, I was watching this press conference as Cash was up there almost crying, knowing Charlie as well as he did. You know, I mean, you want to talk about all worlds coming together as one? Like, these were all your friends. Like, you know, Charlie was my friend who was killed. Cash was up there with my friend who is now investigating and trying to get to the bottom of his friend that was killed. We were all in this fight together, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, Cash was one of those people that never left our side. You asked the question before, like, who is a person who was there and never left in 2020, 2021 when times got bad? Cash. You know who else? Bongino. And so, no, I trust that those guys are going to do a great job with this.
Last question on this before we move on. Hunter, does that look like an entry wound?
Guys, it's a high caliber rifle to the neck, right? I mean, I think you hear a lot of people, you know, he was an expert marksman. No, he's not. It's 200-yard shot with a high power rifle, scoped rifle. You know, anybody who's capable of shooting is going to be practically touching bullets at that range, and no one's shooting for the right side of the neck. That's just the honest. But what he did was horrific. I mean, that's obviously all it took, and we lost a great man that day. I lost a great friend that day, and you know, the nation lost a person who, man, did he make transformational change. And,
he's one of a kind.
Yeah, I remember him coming into Trump work. This was 10 years ago, and he sat down at a conference table with me, right? And he goes, I am literally going to change the student body of every college in this country. I'm going to stack them with conservatives. We are going to. And you're sitting there as a guy who does real estate projects. We hear of some BS every single day, and you're saying, this is pretty lofty. I mean, you're going to change the hearts and minds of, you know, the youth of the United States, and he was hell-bent on doing it. And man, did this guy accomplish exactly what he told me 10 years ago he was going to accomplish. He was an amazing person, and I think Erica, she's a rock. I think she's going to do a hell of a job.
And we agree. Charlie Kirk was one of a kind. We're at the event. I'm on stage. Tony Robbins is up there. First shot takes place where he has no idea what's going on. He's in the middle of his speech. There's nearly 8,000 people. Some of you guys were in the room where that took place. And then all of a sudden I go up. At this point, the report, I don't know if you remember, one of the reports came in that said, there's a pulse, he's going to make it. That was kind of on Twitter, that was going viral. Like, oh my God, this is good. And then Vinny comes and tells, we're like, wait a minute, you got to be kidding me. No. And then Tom comes up, gives a prayer. But Charlie was one of one, and a lot of people felt it by how many people show up to the memorial. You got 65,000 people within a week show up. They said nearly a couple 100,000 people came to the city. People are trying to go in. There's 3 hours before the show starts. They're already sending people home. The overflow room is packed. And there was a moment, because everything in that place was very emotional when people are speaking. But your brother changed the game in that whole, and I know you know where I'm going with this. And he gets up and he says, yeah, I'm not a very sentimental guy. I'm not a very emotional guy. I'm more like a meme guy. And sometimes my dad calls me and, he says what he says. Rob, if you have the clip, I don't think we can ever watch this enough, because the way he impersonated his dad was, how many guys saw that, what I'm talking about here, right? The way he impersonated him was great. And is this it, Rob?
Yes, sir.
Let's listen to this one more time for like the 50th time. Go ahead.
Who's seen me on social media knows I'm far more likely to crack a joke or get myself in trouble for posting some grossly inappropriate memes than I am to shed a tear. I know this because I've even gotten the call from that guy a couple times. Don, you're getting a little aggressive on social media, Don. Relax.
For him to say that.
By the way, that was like the first time Don's ever impersonated him. I've literally, and Don's like my best friend.
Really?
Oh my God.
I'm telling you, I've literally never heard that impersonation before. It's not. You've got these guys who just make that a routine, right? Like that. Don really did pull that out.
Yeah. How would you rate his impersonation of your dad?
I thought he did a good job.
I thought he crushed it.
I mean, I was sitting right next to DJT at the time. My hand's practically on his lap like this, like as Don's doing.
Have you ever tried to impersonate your dad?
I don't think I could get away with it. Not get away with it, but I don't think I have it. I mean, Don had a perfect cadence and tempo. I probably think more like DJT, but man, Don nailed the impersonation. He did a good job with that.
What's Dad's reaction when he sees that? Is he?
Honestly, he loves it.
Yeah.
Listen, there's one thing about my father. He's a funny bastard, right? Like, I mean, he's guys, to me, like the greatest moments of all the campaigns were in 2016, right? You had these campaign managers, and they were coming in, and this campaign, we didn't know what the hell we were doing, but it's starting to kind of solidify, and you have to give him a teleprompter. We have to get your father on teleprompter. Now remember, those in 2016, every speech he gave was like 2.5 hours of just whatever his mind went to at that.
It's true.
And every time it got us in trouble, and it was so good, right? And what was amazing, the New York Times did it best. They had this graph where it's like he started off as like 9% before he entered the race, and then he goes, they're sending rapists and murderers, right? And New York Times, it takes them like 2 days, but they melt down. How dare him? He's so offensive to the Hispanic community, and sure enough, like his polls went up to like 20, right? And 3 weeks later, it's, we had obviously a lot of the terrorist problems and everything. He's talking about a Muslim ban from certain countries, and how dare him say something about him? And then sure enough, guess what? The polls go up another 30 points. And I mean, even Rosie O'Donnell, right? When he has the famous Megyn Kelly thing, you've called women X, Y, and Z, only Rosie O'Donnell, right? And fucking polls shoot through the roof again. Yeah. And it's, it's rather amazing. So the guy's got, I mean, he's stand-up comic in a certain way who feeds off of actually the energy of an audience, and I can tell you he appreciates good humor better than just about anybody. So.
Has he always had a sense? Has it always been like this, even when you guys were kids?
Oh, 100%. I mean, he's funny. He's got big personality. By the way, amazingly analytical, right? I mean, you ask him the sports stat of any baseball player, in the past, any boxer. I told you the story about growing up and with Steinbrenner and all the boxes and everything else, but he will tell you the stats of any golfer, of any boxer, of any baseball player, of any hockey player, of any NBA. I mean, he's amazing. So he's incredibly analytical. He is incredibly funny. He can be so micro, but also be so macro at the same time. The greatest marketer of all time just knows how to distill complicated subjects in very, very few words and do it over and over and over and kind of, beat the message into it. I mean, the guy's just remarkable.
Was he a good driver? Like, did he take you guys to? Did you ever sit next to him in the car when he's driving? Because you don't see him driving, right?
Oh God.
Was he? You see the blue Lamborghini with Melania, but was he someone that looks like you got something you want to say?
So we're buying. By the way, some of the old Donald Trump pictures are like the best, right? That's a great one. The blue. He has one in a pink shirt that's just truly epic. we're driving down. We're buying a golf course right outside of Philadelphia, and I'll never forget. It's just him and I. And he decides, you know what? Let's drive. I'm going to drive. He has this white Rolls Royce. I'll never forget this car. And we're driving down the Jersey Turnpike, and people are going past us, and they're flipping us off. And he's just enjoying the day. The sunroof is down. He's with his son. He's enjoying life. We're probably doing like 55 miles an hour, and like little old ladies are going by us, like flicking us off, and Look, they all love me. All of these. I'm like, they're literally flicking you off right now because we're literally. We're doing.
They're saying you're number one.
We're doing. Yeah. This is before politics.
You're number one, dog.
And so I'll never forget. We get down to the golf course. We do this whole thing, and we do this whole thing for the members. And he goes, "Come on, let's go get McDonald's." Right? Everybody knows he loves fast food, right? And I go, "You're not driving. There's no." By this point, it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, "There's no freaking way you're driving. At this rate, we're gonna get there at 2 o'clock in the morning, right?" Like I'm driving. So I drive this big boat of a Rolls Royce through the McDonald's drive-through in the middle of some seedy neighborhood. I drive it back up the Jersey Turnpike. We're flying at this point. We get back, but no, honestly, it's like the one thing he really misses. He always loved. He likes cars, right? But not in like the U-type way. He liked the freedom of being able to drive, and he always jokes about it. He goes, aside from a golf cart, I may never actually be able to drive a vehicle again because of kind of the bubble. But we had a lot of good memories in the car together.
When did that happen? Is it 10 years before him becoming president? Was it Apprentice when he no longer drove? What was the event?
Well, the event was picking up Secret Service, right, where you're not technically allowed to drive. And so, until then, he would drive himself. He'd go to one of the golf courses. He would, he had tinted windows, and he'd drive up there. And he really enjoyed it. Like, he enjoyed that time by himself or with me or whoever is there. But, those days are probably long gone in the madness of our lives, as you can imagine.
I like to make omelets on Saturday morning, and I'm one of the greatest omelet makers in the world. I love making omelets, right? What was his specialty? Did he ever cook for you guys? Was it anything he would do, or?
No, I can't say I ever remember Donald Trump cooking. Ray Berry Pizza in New York for all you guys, and for all you Northerners. I mean, a lot of pizza, a lot of Jackson Hole, a lot of fast food. We loved fast food. He loved steaks. But no, he wasn't exactly the person to go slave over. He was much more comfortable behind one of those desks than he was behind an island in a kitchen.
Yeah, one thing about him, which is when I had him on the podcast, we're talking, we're having a conversation together, and I'm showing him a video about him that at one of the events he got a little bit emotional. And I said, it looks like something happened to you. This is right after, the assassination attempt, where he's up there, he says something, and he takes a pause. I think it's like a good minute he doesn't talk. Oh, you guys remember this, when he takes a pause and he kind of just stops, and he's almost, I think it's that one right there, Rob. I don't know if it's not. I don't think it's CPAC. I don't know which one it was.
Might be that one. I'll
Anyways, he's up there. He's giving his speech, and I asked him. I said, "Here, we've never seen you emotional. It's always been rock solid. What happened here?" And then he crosses his arms in a podcast when he's watching himself, and then he gives the answer. But from you, father, son, have you seen him get emotional? Has he had moments where he's been emotional?
So think about the highs and lows of these campaigns, right? I mean, so Butler happened, his ear gets blown off. 2 days later, I'm the delegate from our home state of Florida. Everybody loves the state of Florida. That made my father the Republican nominee for president of the United States. And you're saying they're saying exactly 48 hours earlier he almost lost his head, right? He comes into the arena right after I do that, right? I'm on the convention floor and I have the mic, and the whole family surrounding us, and everybody's cheering. The whole arena is going crazy. And he comes in, and people are literally sobbing. I mean, people are crying. Everybody's wearing the little white ear patch and kind of solidarity with what he there's like 30,000 ear patches in this arena, but. Man, I mean, there's been a lot of highs and lows in this whole process. I mean, one of the the most emotional was when we had the uniform of Corey, from Butler up on the stage. You probably remember that, right? The firefighter who otherwise died, and here's a guy right behind him, firefighter that died in the audience that day. And guys, I can't tell you the highs and lows of all of this, right? The lows in the courthouses, the highs, as Kamala Harris calls him to, concede victory. I was there when she did that. I was there when Hillary Clinton called. That was like one of the greatest calls ever, because you could just hear that like scratchy little voice on the other side of the phone. But I mean, I can't tell you kind of the roller coaster of emotion. And I think after Butler, you probably became a little bit more humble. Maybe you find God in a little bit of a different way. It's pretty eerie when that flag, right at that exact moment, right? I'm not a mushy guy, but when that folded up like a perfect angel right above his head at that exact moment, guys, that's eerie stuff, right? That's eerie stuff, and there's no question that the second round, I think he was hit with a level of emotion that he didn't see the first time in 2016.
Oh, did you see it?
I think our whole family saw it. I mean, at that point, we were, in a certain way, we were emotionless. We were kind of battered and beaten. We had a lot of arrows hit us, right? And I think the greatest self-protection mechanism, whether you're in business or you're in that world, is being able to kind of turn off emotion, and that's not always great, right? My wife yells at me all the time. The great Laura Trump yells at me all the time for that. At the same time, I think we were so excited and kind of rejuvenated again. But round two, it was tiring. We were all tired. We were all battered. We had given our heart and soul and every bit of our spirit and love and effort and energy toward winning a race, not because it was beneficial to us, but because we truly believed that it was the only way to save this great republic and save this nation and God and our Constitution and red, white, and blue and everything that we otherwise adore, which was all going to total shit, by the way. And so I can only tell you how meaningful it was at that moment.
In that moment, I mean, everyone remembers that Butler moment. I mean, forget about it. You said that President Trump is your best friend, is your dad, is your role model. Every American, whether, I'm not talking about the crazy people, this guy gets shot in the ear, jumps up, fight. Anyone who's like, oh my God, this guy's the most badass dude ever. Mark Zuckerberg, literally not a fan of Trump, you could say that, right? Was like, that was the most badass thing I've ever seen. As a son, you've seen your dad, president, billionaire, this, that. To see your father get shot and then do this, how did that make you feel?
Well, you can't fake that. That much I can tell you, right? I mean, there's a lot of guys, we all see it. Hey, how many tough guys are there in Miami who've taken a little bit too much of the juice, but they're probably not that tough, right?
I know a lot of them. I know all of them, Eric.
God, I went to an event down here the other night, and I was like, am I the only guy that's not not on the juice, And by the way, I can guarantee you that 99.999% of them would not have done that, would not have had the. I got to tell you a great Zuckerberg story. So I don't know. I actually think Zuckerberg's on the team now, and I really mean that. So I was so pissed off at this guy. He spent $400 million in 2020 against us. And you go on Facebook and you type it in, nearest ballot box location Trump, right? And nothing would show up. You do the same for Biden, and literally they would effectively walk you to the polls, right? I mean, that's how crazy and that's how rigged the entire platform was. And I saw Zuckerberg at inauguration. He was sitting right behind me. I had never met him at that point. And I turned around, I shook his hand, and he literally took his shoulder. I'll never forget this. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And he kind of hip checks me. And he goes, let's freaking go. And I mean it, guys. He meant it. He's like, let's freaking go. And he was legitimately happy to be there. Now 4 years ago, I don't think he could stand us. And then he got in good shape, by the way. He started doing jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe it was a testosterone thing or something, right?
Of course.
He's on the Miami juice.
Yeah.
He's on the Miami juice. He moved to Miami. He hit the TRT and the HGH and all the good stuff, right? And all of a sudden, man, he literally puts his shoulder into me. And I'm a big guy, right? I'm 215, 6'5". And he goes, let's freaking go. Let's go. And I genuinely mean, I really believe that Zuckerberg is on the team now, and he clearly wasn't. He was probably on the, before. So I just had to mention that based on your little.
That's cool. Well, it goes to show.
It's kind of like you, right?
Well, I've always listen.
But guy, he is seriously MAGA at this point, right?
And I'm on the juice right now, bro. But
the most.
Maybe with Zuckerberg, there's something to be said. Get out of the computer, go touch some grass, start kicking some ass, like he's doing. He's doing UFC. He's fighting. He's doing stuff with Lex Friedman. Maybe there's something to be said there when you stop acting like they say trigger fingers turn into Twitter fingers. When you get off the tough guy keyboard warrior thing and actually get there and touch some grass and be a man in real life, that's probably when you have that realization, oh man, time to be a man and step up.
It's a little bit of actually the problem with social media, if you think about it. I can tell you in the last 10 years, I can probably count on my two hands the amount of time people have truly, truly been rude in public, which is probably shocking to everybody. right? And yet you go on Instagram, you go on Facebook, and exactly to your point, you've got these keyboard warriors who are in their mom's basement, and all of a sudden they're enabled because they're hiding behind a screen and they have total anonymity. And if those people weren't behind the screen, you would just never hear from them, right? They wouldn't be emboldened. They wouldn't be that tough guy. And what was Tyson's? Does everybody remember like Tyson's
On the
famous-
plane. Oh,
Do you remember
everyone,
Tyson's
the famous
famous quote
line.
about this,
Yeah.
which is like
everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right?
Yeah, but it was something like, effectively, right? Yeah, yes, effectively, you're not doing that if you're in front of me because I'm just gonna pop you in the face and you'll just never disrespect somebody again, right? I mean, the keyboard warriors, they can sit in their, the basement, they can do that. But what's interesting is out in public, it just doesn't happen. It's a rarity, maybe once a year if somebody's truly, truly rude. And it actually probably shows you the influence of social media on people's mind and frankly, even more so their mind, their decorum.
You said something very quickly that was a big event. The first time you guys won, you said Hillary Clinton called and you were sitting right next to him?
Yeah, I have a great
What
picture.
was
of it.
that call like? What did it sound like?
I think I have the picture in my book right here. I'll just show it to you. I snapped a picture on my phone, and it was Hillary that called him up. And you'll remember Podesta that night?
Oh, God.
So this is a crazy story. Can I tell? So the Jacob Javits Center, my father pretty much built it, right? He got that whole thing approved, got it to the city, and they ended up building it. She wanted to do her, she wanted election night to be at the Javits Center. You know why? Because it has a glass ceiling. She wanted the glass ceiling to fall, right? That was like the whole thing. You know the other place when she ran against Barack Obama that she wanted to have her election night? Old Post Office, which is a hotel that we happened to build on Pennsylvania Avenue. So pretty much, if Trump ever touched a building, Hillary Clinton, if she ever runs again, should stay the hell away from the glass ceilings because it's not working well for her. But you'll remember, so Podesta comes out, and she had clearly lost, and everybody go home. It's going to be a long night. We'll regroup. We're going to come up with a great plan. We'll see you in the morning. And it was like 3 o'clock, and my father's like, listen, we had clearly won, and we had won by a lot. He had won by a lot, and he goes, I'm just going to go out, and I'm going to give him my speech. I'm not doing this on her time. I'm going to do it on mine. And they knew that he was just about to go out and go out on stage, and we had no party planned. I mean, we literally took like a room in like the Marriott. We were too superstitious. Everybody was saying we were going to lose. So there's no way we're going to do this in Trump Tower. This is like, this was like home base for us. Like we're too superstitious. We didn't want that kind of negative juju on that building, right? And so we did in the Marriott. We didn't even have hors d'oeuvres. We just had like a bar in the corner, and everybody was getting hammered right as they waited for this whole thing to happen. Hillary had millions of balloons. She had the nicest caviar. She had Dom Perignon, right? They were going to celebrate the great victory. The difference is my father was in Michigan. I was with him in Michigan until 2:30 in the morning that morning. She had packed it in like 3 days before, right? She had totally given up, packed it in. They thought they were going to get the victory, and sure enough, she knew he was going to walk out on stage. And so she called him up and conceded. And I snapped this picture on my phone. And I think it's definitely the only picture of her calling my father, but I'll never forget it. And I could just hear her voice on the other side of that cell phone. And man, was that a good day. I mean, man, was that a...
Was it a fair, did she say, was it like, hey, Donald, I don't want to make this, do you remember the words, what she said?
Yeah, she said, listen, you ran a great race, and I'll never forget. And this was his gracefulness, right? There was no revenge. There was no... In fact, I mean, she deleted 33,000 emails. You'll all remember this. They could have easily imprisoned Hillary Clinton for a lot of bad stuff. And he thought it'd be terrible for the country. And he goes, Hillary, I have to say, you were tough as hell. You were one formidable, opponent. You were tough as hell, and you ran a hell of a race. And I give you a lot of credit. I mean, it was pure grace. And that speech was one of the most inspirational speeches. If you remember the speech, how positive it was and everything else. And guys, we got to November 20th, which was Inauguration Day. 12 minutes after my father was inaugurated, that day, the Washington Post came out with a story. This is when the impeachment of Donald Trump begins. 12 minutes. 12 minutes. They couldn't even wait that long. And that's when the walls started closing in, and that's when they went after him like he was an absolute... And obviously me, I became this most subpoenaed person in American history for doing absolutely nothing wrong. And he was so graceful to her. And by the way, there's a great debate whether or not he should have been, to tell you the truth. I could argue, man, they didn't bestow any grace on him. They decided to try and take him out in every way, shape, or form, including creating these Russia narratives that were just nonsense. And I'll never... Yeah, that's the article. The campaign to impeach President Trump has begun.
Minutes later. Wow.
January 20th.
Jeez.
12:27. I'm so sorry. I said it was 12 minutes. It was 27 minutes after inauguration.
We'll give you some grace on the timing.
Thank you for the 14 minutes of grace.
And did you also say that you were there when Kamala made the call?
Yeah, we were at the convention center in Palm Beach, Florida, our new home state. We had to leave New York because honestly they were coming after us like we were dogs, and it just wasn't worth it anymore. You know, we were one of the ones that just picked up and left. But I was there right next to him when he got the second call from her, and that was another great moment. You know, I mean, we had fought so hard through the 2020 through 2024 period. They had put us through everything, and that was a great moment.
Was that also graceful?
It was graceful. Listen, I mean, it was such an embarrassing defeat. You know, I have to say that. You know, now she won't say that in her book, right?
The closest race of all time.
By the way, have you heard the new name for this book? I can't even trademark it, but it's so good. The 107 Days of Sobriety, as opposed to the 107 days. Have you heard about this whole thing? But
Welcome to my book tour. 2 drink minimum.
But in her book, she talks about how it was the closest race in political history. I'm sitting there, it's like, what about like Bush?
Can't she say that?
No, she can't say that.
So
he won the popular vote. He won every swing state. Yeah. He won Miami-Dade by 11 points. He won every state in the country tacked to the left. I'm sorry, to the right. You know, he won 11 counties in California that he had never been won by a conservative before. He won all of them. Like it wasn't the closest race. It was quite frankly an ass kicking. Like it wasn't a close race. It was.
Did you see the conversation that Stephen A. Smith had on The View about the mandate? Did you hear that? Remember that part? When she goes, you know, Trump keeps calling it a mandate, and they're like, this isn't a mandate, it's close. And Stephen A. Smith goes, excuse me. And he basically said everything, this is a mandate. Yeah. 7 swing states, every congressional district, bing, 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 bing. And he voted for Kamala. Stephen A. Smith, respect to you, Stephen A. But it was not close whatsoever.
I don't know if he voted for Kamala. Did he say he voted for Kamala?
I don't know.
No, I think he said... He said something, if I'm not mistaken. It's not
sit
Trump.
That one out?
Yeah, he may have not voted for Trump. I know Cuomo said he didn't vote for Trump.
Fact check that.
At least the guy had the fortitude to actually call out the Democrats for being lunatics on certain issues, right? And maybe he didn't get there, but at least I give him a little credit for trying to have a little intellectual honesty in the whole conversation in a time where no one was having intellectual honesty. I mean, you know, Jake Tapper. Did anybody see the interview with my wife where he's scolding her because she's saying that Biden doesn't have his mental faculties? I mean,
that's right.
How dare you diagnose? Do you have your doctorate degree? Children are going to think you're a bully for saying that a man with a stutter has a. I mean, he's torching her. Hey, pull up his book if you don't mind on that screen. I don't mean to step into Patrick's role, but pull up Jake Tapper's book.
We just saw what Rob was buying.
By the way, Stephen A. did vote for Kamala. Stephen A. did vote for Kamala.
So this is Jake Tapper's book, right? I got to read it. Original Sin: President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again. And yet he's on the media scolding Laura Trump because she said that he had a cognitive decline, right? I mean, the problem is they're all phonies, at least for Stephen A. Smith. He had the intellectual honesty to be able to punch back against the Democrats and say that some of their policies were disastrous. Most of DEI.
You know who interviewed him well with the book when he came out? Megyn Kelly. Did you see Megyn Kelly? Have you seen how Megyn Kelly interviewed Jake Tapper? Yeah. Pushing, but you said, no, Jake, but I'm in the business. But you can't say that I'm into this.
Yeah. Wasn't he your friend, or was that Cuomo?
No,
That
Cuomo.
was Cuomo.
Not Jake Tapper. No, Jake, no. But Cuomo, he's done a lot of stuff here with us. But going back to it, I just looked up right now. Because when you write a book, you know this, when you're writing a book, the lawyers, Kamala's book was published by Simon & Schuster. Lawyers are going to question certain things, and they're going to say, you can't say that. You can't say this. You can't say that, right? I mean, that's what they go through. And they say, you may want to change that name. If you do, you have to, hold us harmless, that if they do sue you, it's not us. There is nothing in there that confirms that this was the closest race of all time. And she's going around on tour, saying, Rachel Maddow, The View, everybody. Can Trump and the family just dispute that and say, show us proof based on what stat that this was the closest race of all time?
Yeah, she's not going to. I mean, she goes out and says it, and she doesn't back it up. But isn't that like the whole Democratic playbook? Say whatever the hell you want. Don't back it up by any facts. And just allow the mainstream media to run with it over and over and over until people start believing it. Like, Patrick, that's their entire playbook as a party, right? That's what they did time and time again. The good news is my father actually got his freedom of speech back because of Elon Musk and X, and he's able to go blast it to hundreds of millions of people around the world, subverting NBC and ABC, people who wouldn't otherwise cover that nonsense, you know, and putting it in the phones of every single person out there that it wasn't a close race and that, you know, it was actually probably one of the greatest landslides ever.
Yeah, but I'm asking a question because one of the best tweets, I don't know who put it, De Souza Gill, I don't know what her first name is, but De Souza Gill tweets it saying YouTube had to pay your father $25 million, you know, ABC, CBS, 60 Minutes, Stephanopoulos, all the stuff that had to happen, right? It's a way of saying you were wrong, we were right. Goes back to this hat, right? Trump was right about everything. By the way, thank you for this. What would it be like if you guys actually forced her to show data? Because in what area can she go say something like that?
Yeah, you got to realize for a 4-year period of time, there's no channels that would allow that, right? I mean, it's such a big part of my book. They took away our ability to speak. You know how many gag orders we all had on us imposed by courts to not talk? And then all of a sudden you're taken off of Facebook and you're taken off of Instagram and you're taken off of Twitter. And then you have a mainstream media that is 98% negative. That their coverage has been 98% negative, and yet we somehow still got out the message. So, yeah, I mean, if we had the channels the Democrats had, a Republican would never be beaten ever because we're right on all these issues. The problem is traditionally they had all the channels until people stopped liking the mainstream media and started loving you and loving Joe Rogan and loving all of our voices. And we finally had a little bit of freedom back because of Truth Social before, obviously, Elon bought X. And then, obviously, we got X back. And then, honestly, they became irrelevant.
Yeah, your dad literally started this whole, and if you see right there, that's the one he's talking about. 25 million YouTube, 25 million Facebook, 10 million Twitter, 15 million ABC, 60 Minutes, 60. That's almost, $90 million. It was, and I know you remember this, Eric, when your dad, Jim Acosta, who's in a basement now talking to a microphone, he doesn't have a job for CNN, he's yapping and yapping. Your dad was 1 week, not even 1 weekend, and your dad goes, I'm not going to give you a question. You're fake news. That moment broke, like, people at home went, wait, they're lying? Like, it malfunctioned people's brains, and your dad, that moment of your fake news started the whole thing, and now look where we're at.
Think about 60 Minutes. They literally edited a bunch of questions to try and make her sound coherent because she couldn't get out a reasonable answer. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, that's why he sued them, and they paid a fortune. You know, they gave it to, I think they gave it to the library or something along those lines. I forget at this point, but I mean, think about a network going in there, and especially 60 Minutes, and splicing. This is the same network that said that there was no proof that the FBI spied on the campaign. And then, sure enough, a year later, it comes out that the FBI spied on the campaign. I mean, they are the PR arm for the Democratic Party. That's what the mainstream media always was. I mean, are you going to roll this clip? It's like phenomenal stuff.
Go ahead, Rob.
This is Ed Bradley, I believe.
Watch
But it
this.
seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need.
Oh, man.
It wasn't even close.
God, did we
Dude, that
dodge a
wasn't even
bullet?
close.
Does anybody realize why they settled now and they settled in a disastrous fashion? I mean, and by the way, had they not, DJT would have had like a field day with this for the rest of eternity. I mean, do you remember her economic speech where she goes up there and she goes, you know, I'm going to put a stop to, you're going to love this because you're a math guy like me. I'm going to put a stop to price gauging. I'm sitting there saying, listen, I run one of the biggest real estate companies in the world. Like, what the hell is price gauging? Like, I've heard of price gouging before, but I've never heard of price gauging. Like, you know, listen, guys, we've got a $32.5 trillion economy. It's going to go up a lot under Donald Trump because of economy soaring. I mean, China's got a $22 trillion economy, and literally you could have had somebody potentially run that economy who couldn't say the word gouging. I mean, it's like unthinkable. I mean,
What do you
60
think the
Minutes, when you
country
were
would look
talking
like
about.
so go ahead, Tom.
When you were talking about 60 Minutes, I remember Leslie Stahl when DJT was appropriately trying to correct her. Donald, this is 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
And that was the statement
right.
that was exactly wrong. So they never apologized, right? They never apologized,
right there.
but they wrote a check. And this is what was stunning to me, that none of them have come back around with any sort of, they're never going to apologize, but they're not even slightly conciliatory. How is the administration, and you're an advisor to your dad, how are you managing the media now from the inside? We see the outside, but how are you managing it from the inside?
It's amazing. Like, in the White House, in the press room, which is kind of a smaller room than you think, it looks actually bigger on TV, they always had assigned seating. So NBC was right up front, ABC was right up front, and they would, I mean, you try and get independent journalists in there, and they would lose their minds. They had this like little union. DJT totally rearranged this whole thing, right? I mean, it's now all of a sudden you've got Benny Johnson in there. You've got all these people. And by the way, those guys have bigger followers than CNN. Like they have substantially more views. You have substantially more views than, this thing will get substantially more views than CNN will on any given night, times probably 10. And so all of a sudden he kind of broke up this little union in there. But that's what he was dealing with the entire time. That Leslie Stahl interview was absolutely insane, right? I mean,
and the condescension, Donald.
You got to play
this. Is 60 minutes.
Yeah, you play annoying.
You're right, Tom.
Do you have that, Rob? I mean, to speak as if like you're lecturing your son. Yeah, is this it, Rob?
I believe so.
Can we just see it? Just the way
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, this is it.
So the biggest scandal was when they spied on my campaign. They spied on my campaign.
There's no real evidence of that.
Of course there is. It's all over the place. Leslie, they spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Can I say something? This is 60 Minutes.
Really?
And we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't put on things we can't verify.
Leslie, they spied on my campaign.
Well, we can't verify
It's been totally
that.
verified.
No.
It's been, just go down and get the papers. They spied on my campaign, they got caught.
No.
And then they went much further than that, and they got caught. And you will see that, Leslie, and you know that, but you just don't want to put it on the air.
As a matter of fact, I don't know that.
Okay.
So.
By the way, and then when Joe Biden goes on, do you remember what they asked him? Do you remember
ice
the
cream.
question?
What's your favorite ice cream?
What's your favorite flavor of ice cream? And by the way, he hardly got out an articulated answer. It was like the craziest thing ever. It's like,
He said chicken.
So he's
That's right. Chicken.
Favorite ice cream? Chicken.
By the way, this is the
Nobody's
kind of
ever taken
moments
ice cream
that
seriously.
your legacy is stuck by this, right? Leslie Stahl, who has been known, and now the legacy is going to be, well, you can't say something like that. He was right. Going back to it, anytime you're winning, and you said something, I don't know if you guys caught one thing that very important as you're listening, and even the first time you and I spoke, and speaking of Laura, which, by the way, she's a flippin' rock star. When we had Laura on last time, she's a rock star. That's why I said the two together. I was talking to a couple of your friends in the back where you want to have 20 kids and you guys having a conversation. I think maybe we need to do
Hey, I want to have 20 kids. If anybody can convince Laura to have 20 kids, you're on it. All right? You're good? All right. Hey,
so here's the question I got for you. You said something. You said, our family, we're a little bit superstitious. We didn't want to do anything. We just had guys that are drinking this, and that, where we're like, let's see what's going to happen. Are we going to win? We're not going to win. We're not supposed to win. That morning, the chance of Hillary Clinton winning was 90%. Everybody was saying Hillary's going to win at 90%. But now you guys are winning a lot. Now, so when you're winning a lot and you're watching all the games, they try to get your dad to have to spend all the money in Mar-a-Lago, which is only an $18 million property. We remember that conversation, right? Every time I go to Mar-a-Lago, I'm like, each acre is $18 million, let alone the property, water, tennis, all this stuff, right?
Court, yeah.
Right, so which tennis court, right? So then you see, they try to take the money. They try to get the mugshot, backfired. It actually helped. They try to embarrass with, character assassination, all this stuff from the past, and former people coming up, Michael Cohen, all these guys are coming up. Now you win. So now that you sit there, you guys are like, well, do you think they're going to sit on their laurels and not do nothing about it? Data just came out the other day. Democratic Party has the lowest approval rating. One came out 6 weeks ago. Another one just came out this week. Every week, it's mainstream media Vinny, you were showing it earlier today. The lowest it's ever been. Not the lowest it is. It's the lowest it's ever been. Do you guys sit there and wonder, like, if they're going to just sit on the sidelines and let you guys keep winning? Or are you sitting there saying, what game are they going to try to play next?
Now, as a guy who was under siege, they're vindictive as hell. They're gonna play plenty of games. They're gonna play every game they can. The problem is we made them voiceless. We made them powerless. The American people, hey, listen, in life, how many times can you cry wolf? Right? How many times can you cry wolf before everybody catches on? The reality is all Americans catch on. So now they try and throw nonsense against the wall. I'd use a different word, but they try and throw it against the wall, and it's not sticking. And that's a beautiful thing. And I think that's one of the things that's going to unleash the handcuffs on my father. He did a phenomenal job first term, but he had to fight, the first impeachment, the second impeachment. I mean, look what they did to Kavanaugh. Look what they did to our family. I mean, we were fighting all of that at the same time. Now, all of a sudden, the handcuffs are off, and he can just go do what he does best, without a media that totally controls the world, right? Without a Democratic Party that's effective. And you're right, they have the lowest effective, the lowest approval rating. You're all business owners in here. We all screw things up. But isn't it like our responsibility to have a little bit of inward reflection and say, you know what, I was probably wrong with that. Like, I was probably wrong. Like, Americans probably don't want fentanyl coming over our borders and killing all of our kids. Like I was wrong about the immigration issue. Maybe we should actually agree to build a wall. If they did that, they would be a much more powerful party, right? I mean, people can appreciate somebody who does, who tacks a little bit if they went off course. The problem is every single day they go further down. I mean, you look at Pritzker in Chicago. I don't want the National Guard. He's got 15 people that are murdered every Saturday night, and yet he doesn't want the same great job that they did in Washington, D.C. to happen in Chicago. I mean, think of the lunacy of that, right? And so the problem with the Democrats is they have no inward reflection, and frankly, most of them are career politicians. They've never had jobs. They've never signed the front of the check. They've been government employees their entire adult lives. I mean, Biden is he was in government for 56 years. I'm a 41-year-old guy. It means the guy was in politics 15 years longer than I'm alive. Like, does anybody not find a problem with this? It's like, and I've got gray in my beard. It's nuts.
Yeah, you said Pritzker. Pritzker is somebody that Tom thinks he's going to be the leading guy for 2028.
Perfect.
Maybe we need to
perfect.
send.
Honestly, perfect.
Maybe we need to
the machine. The machine wants him.
But I got an idea, Tom. I mean, because based on the research that we're having with the people in Miami that he was talking about, referencing earlier, what if we send Brecka to Illinois to give him some TRT? Maybe he's gonna. Can you see
He'll
Pritzker
instantly turn into a conservative, right? That's how it works. By the way, if your testosterone is, I'm going to get in so much trouble. If your testosterone is under 300, you're definitely a Democrat. If your testosterone is over 300,
that's a good way of looking at it.
Women, I'm talking about men here. Don't get mad at me to the women in the room. If your testosterone is above 300, you're definitely a conservative.
Brecka, if you're watching this, you may want to have your team reach out to Pritzker.
You mentioned like everything that they threw at him that didn't work, but there's one thing that seems to be lingering, right? That's this whole, you're a fascist. And that obviously is what potentially got Charlie Kirk killed. I mean, listen, the hardest thing to do is be like, I was wrong. And I've done that repeatedly. We won't revisit that. But the Democratic Party needs to do that. But they're doubling down on this fascist thing. From the Russia collusion to the impeachments to the list goes on and on and on. I remember being at Mar-a-Lago, and there was an event. We were all there, and there was the same time that there was the Madison Square Garden thing. It's a Nazi rally, and Adolf Hitler speaking. And then I'm at Mar-a-Lago. It's like they're singing Hatikva, which is like the Jewish theme song. Like, I'm like, you guys couldn't be further from the truth. But they're still clinging to this fascist thing. How do we get that out of the narrative? Because he's the least fascist person ever, because they agree in free speech. They agree with debate.
I mean, identity politics is like their only game, guys. I mean, like, it's like the only thing they know how to play. I mean, my father flew, 7 B-2 bombers to the other side of Earth, blew the hell out of Iran in defense of Israel, and yet they'll still call you anti-Semitic. I mean,
it's crazy.
I've got an Orthodox Jew sister, right? And she's one of my best friends in the world. Her husband married me. All my, so many of my best friends are Jewish, and yet I'm anti-Semitic according to them. Like, it's insane. We're a family that's probably done more to defend Israel and faith and Jewish faith in this country than anybody. Yet my father is, I mean, they did this with the African American vote, right? And the African American community will never vote for this racist. It's really, isn't that interesting? All of a sudden they get the mugshot, and all these communities are saying, no, this is crap. The exact same thing that they're doing to Donald Trump is what they've done to my community, for years and years and years. They call my father a sexist. That was another good one. My father's the only person who's ever had a female campaign manager, and we won both times. So we had Kellyanne Conway, his campaign. So the greatest sexist in the world, Donald Trump, according to these people, right, had Kellyanne Conway run his first campaign. We won. And then had Susie Wiles run his second campaign. We won, but yet Donald Trump says, I mean, the problem, guys, is these guys only know identity politics, and it didn't work. I mean, look at Miami-Dade. I don't want to bring up the statistic, but we won Miami-Dade by 11 points, right? We won Hispanics. We won every demographic of people. who tanked massively because they're not putting up with the crap anymore. They don't believe it. They don't buy it. And again, the mainstream media almost can't espouse it anymore because it's just fundamentally not true.
And part of the reason you won Miami-Dade is because you used to have this former Democrat that lives there, and now he's very MAGA, and he's just screaming from the rooftops that Trump's the guy. And he's sitting next to you right now, bro. So thank you for the shout-out, Miami-Dade.
By the way,
the converts are actually the best, to tell you the truth. Does that make sense? Like, I actually love the people who didn't like you at the beginning, and then they kind of came around. Like, I almost like them more than the people that were always on the train, because it means that they have like enough self-discipline and smarts to be able to exactly where we were talking about with
Eric,
entrepreneurs
this
before.
is too much for Adam.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do this
We
to
don't
Adam, please.
start ripping on me. We don't
Adam,
need to-
you hang
You're
out with
building
him
my ego
30
up.
more
Yeah.
minutes.
Yes.
You're gonna
Yeah.
say, no, I've had enough of Adam. We don't want him to go. He's gonna show this clip to the girls and say, look what Eric said
That's
about
true.
me.
What a guy.
Patrick,
what a
I'm just
guy.
gonna start tearing the hell out of him. I'm gonna go back to that. Like,
I'm used to it.
Trump's
Thick
are
skin, Eric. Thick skin.
Trumps are far better than tearing you down than building you up. So I'm gonna start doing that again.
Build that wall, though.
Yeah, but going back to it, I don't think I'm sitting there thinking about what surprises they're going to have. I think they're going to keep playing the games, and I think some stuff's going to be happening. I don't know what it is. I was watching today the discussion with Taiwan with the 50-50, and Taiwan realizing how Howard Lutnick is negotiating and saying, no, we're going to doing this. No, we want your protection, but also at the same time, we want to be able to keep the 90% time you were talking about kind of earlier, right, when you're given that number. But I think you're pushing. And it's going to get to a point where Russia today gave a very nice condolences. I don't know if you saw that about Charlie Kirk. Very, very nice. Putin came out and said a few words. Now, Putin's cornered where he's willing to meet with Zelensky. Zelensky is talking to the UN or the EU to get them to buy oil from U.S. instead of buying oil from Russia. So Putin's not going to like that. And then China is sitting there saying, wait a minute, you're hanging out with Taiwan, but at the same time, we kind of would like to attack them eventually. Maybe not under you, Donald Trump. Kind of maybe later on we want to do something to these guys. This is way too much control, right? And it's not like it's frictionless. India's a little bit uncomfortable. You know what's going to happen with India. Canada's making its comments. All this stuff that's going on right now. But if they try to do something, have you thought, maybe yourself, have you thought about saying, if they do try to play games, what angles would they take to come after us?
Who?
Would it be the grid? Pick them. So China, Iran, a Democratic Party within the states, within the party, rhinos, people that were, because Eric, you guys didn't just beat people.
Yeah.
You humiliated people. So when you win like that, you have enemies for the rest of your life. They're just plotting to see what they're going to be doing next.
Sure.
What do you think they'll be doing to you?
Oh, listen, I mean, I said it before. You asked the question, do you think it's over? And I said, no, I think they're vindictive as hell, and I think they'll probably never stop because it's the only way they know how to play, right? I mean, when discourse is lost, what do? They resort to violence. They've done that kind of time and time again. And so, no, it's incredibly worrisome. Do I worry about our grid? Yes, I worry about our grid. Do I worry about political adversaries? Yes, I worry about political adversaries. At the same time, we have the strongest military in the world right now. I mean, we spent what, $9 trillion in Afghanistan. Between Afghanistan and Iraq, that wasn't helping us. My father's hell-bent on building the greatest military this country's ever seen. You see Pete Hegseth. I mean, what a great job this guy's doing. Before you had the worst military recruiting in the history of the country. 2 months later, you had the best. And you saw that speech the other day that he gave, which was amazing. It's like, if you're a general and you can't do a pull-up, leave the armed forces. Do me a favor, get in shape. I don't want to see these guts anymore. I don't want to see X, Y, and Z. No, I think they're taking the protection incredibly seriously. And I think my father needed to make these people uncomfortable. I mean, we were getting ripped off like you wouldn't believe. We paid 4.6% of our GDP to NATO, and you had countries like Germany, economies like Germany that were paying nothing. Why are we protecting? Why are we protecting Europe? Why are we the only people writing the check? Why are we the only people protecting South Korea from North Korea? Why were we doing that? Why could Taiwan have tariffs on the United States, yet we're the one thing that probably stopped China from invading them, right? I mean, why are we doing any of this? Why are we the police force for the entire world and we get nothing back? We have a hurricane that hits South Florida, right? Does anybody write us a check? Does anybody send people in to try and help us? Yet every other country in the world gets devastated by natural disasters, and who's the first one there? America, the Red Cross, etc. We're the most philanthropic country in the world, and it's always ignored and is never appreciated. And Donald Trump is changing that every single day.
That's a beautiful thing. Let me tell you, for somebody like for somebody like me, if you're in a company and somebody's representing to lead that company, you want that person to be tough, strong, know how to negotiate, know how to, be diplomatic, yet at the same time to be gentle when needed and to be BMF when needed. And he's got a balance of it. And right now, it's a very interesting thing because I don't know who's going to say no right now.
But can I give you the greatest example of this? Do you remember Little Rocket Man, Kim Jong-un, North Korea? Right? Man, these guys hated each other at the beginning. Little Rocket Man's like, I've got a bomb, and like my father points to like the Diet Coke button, like it's like a big red button on the desk of the White House. He's like, yeah, I've got a red button. Mine actually works with the greatest nuclear arsenal ever. Like don't play with me, Little Rocket Man. And they're sparring back and forth. And then all of a sudden, my father's in South Korea, and he invites my father, and my father goes walking across that line. They shake hands, and they became like, I don't want to say friends. I don't know. Let's call friends. Whatever there's absolute, respect between the two of them. Barack Obama was saying that we were going to go to nuclear war with North Korea, and my father's walking across the DMZ line, shaking hands, laughing with the guy, and they have rapport. Which is more powerful? Like, isn't that nice? Isn't that peace through strength? We never had strength before. I mean, Obama would go to China, land Air Force One. They wouldn't even bring a set of stairs up. Like, you'd have to go through like the kids' stairs on the bottom of the plane. Yet you see my father go over to Saudi Arabia. You see him go over to China, and they've got the greatest processions you've ever seen, where he comes off the plane, and you've got the 5,000 horses and the swordsmen and everything else. Like, isn't that the pedestal that we want the United States of America to be on? And so, you need peace through strength, and these people need to get kicked. And by the way, when they're ripping us off, guess what? Fine, we're going to put 100% tariffs on you. We're the largest economy by far in the world at $32 trillion. You want to trade with us, you're going to have to pay 100% tariff. Otherwise, knock off your nonsense. And by the way, in the process, you're going to buy 200 Boeings because, we're going to take care of American companies versus allowing that business to go to, to Europe, to Airbus or one of those. Like, isn't it nice to have somebody that's actually sitting out there and standing up for U.S. economy, U.S. countries? It's so refreshing, especially as a business guy. For me, it's so refreshing.
How do you process this yourself, Tom? What are you thinking?
Well, I want to know what's next because I'm excited. I love the lithium deal that he went out and then we cut the lithium deal. So we got rare earth minerals. And then America understood what was going on in Greenland, understood why minerals had to be part of the Ukraine deal, and then goes, oh, this is stuff we don't have that we need. We're not just going to have money going on a one-way street. I'd like to know, like, what's next. Obviously, the wars, the wonderful announcement today has to come true. Everybody's got to mind themselves on it. We got to finish the Ukraine war. There's things to do. I'm looking forward to what's next. I love the first rate cut. I love things like that. What's below the surface that we can't see that's coming that we're going to love?
Good question.
From business perspective? Let's start with, I mean, if you're talking about from business perspective, I mean, I think everybody's overlooking bonus depreciation, right? I mean, how many people have small business out here? Like, based on the fact that you can write off all improvements, how many people are going to make improvements to their business? Congratulations. I don't know when this opened, but it's 100% tax deductible. You know how many contractors' jobs you're going to put into action in the country? You're going to rebuild this country based on allowing entrepreneurs, allowing businesses to be able to write off their capital expenditures. Like, that's a beautiful thing for this nation, and
that's massive.
It's massive.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the repatriation of money that came back into the U.S. in the last administration. You know how many trillions of dollars you had parked overseas and you couldn't bring it back into the U.S. based on tax rates? And so guess what? You know who was benefacting? Ireland. All the money was in Ireland. All the money was parked in the Cayman Islands. And all of a sudden, he opens it up. You know how many hundreds of billions of dollars came back into the U.S. for that? Dropping tax rate, allowing...
We used to track Apple. We called Apple out on this podcast years ago and pointed out how many devices you actually make, but how much money have you got stashed in Ireland? And nobody knew about it.
Totally. And he's the one that said, listen, we're going to do a tax holiday for a 6-month period of time, so all that money from all around the world can come back. Hey, cryptocurrency, right? That's another great example of it. You know how many trillions of dollars in U.S.-backed stable coins are going to be printed and held by people around the world? It's a beautiful thing. That props up the U.S. dollar indefinitely. So,
but stay with that. Maybe go a little bit more with Bitcoin, because just earlier, I think a few weeks back, you said Bitcoin's going to $1 million.
I think Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million. I just popped up a company called American Bitcoin. We're traded on the NASDAQ. It's I think it's great. We mine Bitcoin for roughly 50% the spot price on Bitcoin right now, maybe a little bit less based on the run that it had. exactly 1 week ago, I go, Bitcoin is going to go parabolic in fourth quarter, and it's up like 12% since I said that. So my call was awfully good. But no, I think Bitcoin is the greatest single asset, of this decade. It's gone up, 70% year over year, for the last 10-year period of time. Every family in the world wants it. Every Fortune 500 company is starting to custody it. Every sovereign wealth fund is buying it. I am very long Bitcoin, and so much of that came from being debanked by every major financial institution in the country: Capital One, Bank of America, Chase. I fell in love with cryptocurrency because it gives people financial freedom.
How do you feel about Doge? How do you feel about XRP, Ripple? How do you feel about Ethereum? Where are you with the other three?
Know all of them extremely well. Know Brad very well at XRP, and he's done a great job. Know Ethereum very well. I'm one of the guys who was early on this year saying buy Ethereum as it's crashing, and Ethereum's come ripping back. I mean, I'm a big fan of Bitcoin. I'm a big fan of Ethereum. Bitcoin is digital gold. Ethereum is definitely the oil by which all financial systems are going to run on, and they've done tremendously well. And I think honestly, cryptocurrency, all the altcoins, I think are going to do well as Bitcoin rips. Those are going to follow. But I'm telling you, if you look at our financial system, it doesn't make any sense that it could take you 120 days to get a mortgage in this country, right? I mean, I banked with a certain bank for 25 years. I got a mortgage when I moved down to Florida just because under my father was like 2% interest rates. You'd be stupid not to, right? And so I get this mortgage. I went through 120 days of know your customer with a bank that I had banked with for 25 years. Like, try sending out a wire. Every single one of you deal with it. Try sending out a wire on a Friday afternoon at 4:30. Zero chance, right? Crypto is better, faster, cheaper, more transparent. It is the financial revolution in this country. There's no question about it. I would bet everything I have on the fact, in a certain way have, right? But I'd bet everything I have on the fact that, if you look at the financial markets, they're going to be dominated by cryptocurrency, in 5 years. We are on the 1 yard line. Cryptocurrency is growing faster than the internet grew in the 90s, and I am all in on Bitcoin. I am all in on Ethereum, I think it saves the U.S. economy, to tell you the truth. I really do.
More than real estate?
Listen, you know me. I'm real estate guy. I love
I'm not going to go that far.
No, I think it's the single greatest hedge to real estate, though. Like if I want to go sell Trump Tower.
Wow.
If you want to go sell the Yankees, right, in Yankee Stadium.
Yep.
Right? You know how many buyers could buy the Yankees in the world? I don't know, 5, 10,
not that many.
50, not that many.
Right.
Either could buy or would be, right? I mean, you could. So real estate, if I want to go sell Trump Tower, how many buyers? It would take me a year and a half to do it. You'd be limited in terms of, you'd have every broker, every title company in there. You'd have every bank in there. Everybody would be trying to get their fingers in something that they have nothing to do with. You can transact $500 million worth of Bitcoin, having a glass of wine with your wife on a Saturday night. Like, meaning, the point is, the reason it's the greatest hedge to real estate is one is liquid, one is 24 hours a day, one is global, one isn't tied to any geographic location. Right? One is secured by power, but it versus real estate where it's, if you have Mandami coming into a city, congratulations, you can't move your asset, right? If it's a very valuable, if the real estate market is crashing, congratulations, you can't move an asset. If commercial real estate isn't doing well, guess what? You're stuck. Either you convert, which takes you 5 years, or you're otherwise stuck. I really do believe crypto is the greatest hedge to real estate, and that's why we're so bullish.
I love it. That's great. Last question before we wrap up. There's this guy in your family who I think is like 6'7", 6'8", 6'9". I don't know if you met him before or not. He's kind of a big deal, this tall guy, Barron Trump, who's got a very good sense of humor, very witty. And story came out yesterday. I don't know if I'm sure you saw the story. So yesterday's story comes out. Have you guys seen the story about Barron Trump yesterday or no? So he goes on a date. And it's all over the place. Barron Trump shuts down a whole floor of Trump Tower for a date. And every Vanity Fair reached out to the White House for some news. They don't want to tell, nobody what the girl's name is. What dating advice have you given to your brother? What can you tell us that's somewhat comfortable sharing with the public here?
Oh, God, you don't want to know the dating advice that I gave Barron?
We want it.
By the way, first of all, I love the kid, and he's an amazing guy. He's above his years, and he's a great friend, and also loves the cryptocurrency stuff. He's God, I can't tell. I'm gonna get myself in so much trouble.
Come on, Eric. No one's watching this. It's just,
go Barron.
It's just 100 people here. It's not like it's gonna.
You might want to go to Florida State, like if you really want to have fun. Like,
that's what I'm talking about.
I could see you going to SMU, Barron. I could go seeing you going to University of Arizona. I'm not sure if you're a current college choice right now. I think you'd have a lot of fun at one of these other schools. You'd probably be legendary. You'd be like, would Barron Trump be like quarterback status at like, like Georgia or like Texas or something along those lines?
Bro,
he might be better than so.
He's like Van Wilder on steroids in Florida State.
He doesn't need TRT.
He can do whatever he wants.
No,
so honestly, shutting down a floor of Trump Tower is like PG-13 versus where my mind would have been at at his age in terms of the dating scene. But joke aside, honestly, Barron's a great kid. His head's clearly on his shoulders, and he's a good man. I'm proud of him, and it wasn't an easy fight for him either, right? I mean, you're in the most delicate years of your life.
So true.
Watching the wars against your father. I mean, I was partaking in those wars, but it was a little bit different, right? We had the backbone to do it, but Barron was watching a lot of nastiness from a sideline where he couldn't really effectuate change, and believe me, that's difficult.
No question about it. So, last question about Barron. So this is Vinny's question. It's inauguration, right?
Inauguration,
because we all want to know what happened. Maybe you asked the question.
Well, I was gonna say because Eric, like if anybody that was watching, we were there. I don't know if the media was showing it, but Eric, you're there. Everybody's on stage. I remember like these beautiful white couches. Everybody's up there. The applause and the reaction that he just every time he would stand up, girls, everybody would go crazy. But there was a clip that I saw that I had to show Pat and the boys earlier, and I remember it when it happened. Your dad's giving a speech. Now he's the president. They're about to leave. He leans in, and you can see Joe Biden's face. He's probably like, I'm gonna get ice cream after. He's happy. Barron leans in, Eric, and he whispers something. I don't know what he says. This girl's gonna give like a play-by-play. Then he leaves, and it looks like Melania says like.
Let's see first.
Okay,
I will watch this clip first. We'll get some commentary from Eric. Go ahead.
So when he leans into Biden here, he says, "It's on." Okay? And then when he goes up to Melania, she says, "Try to be nice." See?
Look
And
at the look,
okay.
folks.
Look at this
Look
look.
at the look.
But she doesn't really know what he had said to him. And then he turns back and looks back at Biden.
Like Eric, I don't know if she's doing play-by-play, but is that kind of ballpark? Like where was he at?
Listen, he's got a lot of our genetics in it. There's no question about it, right? He's a wise ass. He's a good kid, nice kid, big heart. But yeah, he definitely has a little bit of that in him. But honestly, I don't know, and I should actually ask him, right? Because Barron really does have a good heart. He's a good kid and he's respectful. So half of me says that he didn't. At the same time, it's like too good not to be true, right? Does that make sense? Like I want to believe it was that and so much more. And
Let's
so,
FaceTime him right now.
Yeah, we should. I'll do that on the way home.
Tower.
I'll give you the exact. I'll give you the exact answer.
There's actually video. I don't know if you've seen this or not. This was a long time ago, where Barron is a kid. I just found it. Barron's a kid, and he's probably a year old. I think this is it. Somehow I found this. Rob, I'm going to send this to you. And your father is talking about Barron, and he gives him a compliment. He says he's strong. He's this, and he says he's vicious, right? The compliment of being
really?
You've never seen it?
I've never seen
Rob,
it.
can you play this clip? Play this clip. This is
for a 1-year-old?
This is 18 years ago, give or take. I'm trying to because he's 19 now. So
oh my God.
Watch this clip here. Go ahead. It's a pre-president. Go start from the beginning, Rob.
He's smart.
Watch this.
That's Barron. He's strong. He's smart. He's tough. He's vicious. He's violent.
He's
all of the
1 year
ingredients
old.
you need to be an entrepreneur, and most importantly, hopefully, he's smart, because smart is really the ingredient. So, Barron, good luck.
Good luck to you.
Now get out of there and make something of your life, kid.
Good luck to you.
By the way, that's like the greatest Donald Trump compliment, right? He's tough as hell. He's vicious as hell, right? That's by the way, he's right. I mean, Barron is. I mean, he's a really, really good kid, and he's coming to his own in like a beautiful way. But it pisses me off. Like, can I like fill everybody? I became like the family. So I'm 6'5", right? I'm not exactly a small guy. I tower over everyone. I became like the family midget after Barron, right? He was 15 years old. I go back to back with the kid, and he's literally got me by like a quarter of an inch. And I'm sitting there saying, "This sucks." Like I used to be the tall guy in the family, and now I'm the runt. So when you get overtaken by a 15-year-old, I'm not happy.
How tall is he?
And by the way, he's not standing on the second step, right? Like, I mean, I just want you to see in that picture right there. He's
6'8".
6'8"?
No, he's a legit 6'8".
Wow. And he's 18? He's still growing. He's not done.
Yeah, a little bit
And
older. But
what's his
19.
sport? Does he play basketball? What does he do with all
So
that?
he loved soccer until he realized that there's never been a 6'9" soccer player ever. he might have loved basketball until he realized he still couldn't jump, right? So it's like I don't know. I think he'll use his brains.
Yeah, we're at Mar-a-Lago and Bo's like, we're gonna. Barron wants to go play soccer. I'm like, Barron plays. Oh yeah, he loves playing soccer. So him and Bo went and played soccer. But anyways, I want to challenge the audience that's watching this. Let's see if we, Rob, can we put this clip at the end of all the short clips, because I want us to do a case study together and see how we're gonna do. Tom, I know you like case studies, so we're looking at this book right now. If you're watching this and you're loving the podcast, this will be at the end of every single one of the clips. We would like to see if we can do something. Okay, thank you so much. I would like you, if you're watching this, to go support Eric Trump. We're going to put the link below. Buy a copy, maybe buy 2, maybe buy 5 and gift it to somebody. I would love nothing more. Go a little bit lower, Rob, on the ranking. Go a little bit more lower on the hardcover. Lower. I think it is ranked right now 30. Let's put it at the end of every single flipping clip. And zoom in right there, Rob. You just passed it to the left, right there. It's number 30. Let's, in the next 24 hours, help this book become #1 on all of Amazon. If you can buy 10, order 10. Let's send a statement. The book comes out October 14th, 4 days before my birthday. It's coming out. So having said that, gang, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. To all the people that are here from the boardroom, members, platinum, everybody that's here, I hope you guys had a good time as well. To all the people here, make some noise for this. Eric.
We're doing cigars next time, my friend.
There's no question about it. It's been a pleasure having you on again. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys do great things, man. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you. Make some noise, everybody.